Hello friends, and welcome to another crochet tutorial where I'm going to show you how to make these cute little monsters. Now these monsters are basically a no sew in the crocheting. The only sewing we have to do is putting the smile and the little tooth on it. Otherwise everything on here is no sew. Yay! I used blanket yarn when making this. The brand I chose to use was by Ogo. I believe that's Yarnspirations. I really like that. It's nice and solid and it makes everything soft, just like blanket yarn should. So here you can see I have two of them. Let me bring this one up close so you can see his eyes. These are 30mm eyes, and I painted them. If you are interested in some of these that I have painted, I'll be more than happy to sell you some. You can contact me by my email that's in my contact on YouTube. So let's go over some of the materials we're going to need. A 7mm hook. I use a pair of snippers, the tapestry needle for when we sew, a stitch marker, and for this particular one, these are the eyes that we're going to use. This one has like a red background. Some of the other ones have a purple background and a pinkish background. This one has like a red background with the purple and green dots. These also will be using what I call the cup safety holders. What they do is they help push the fabric away from the eye and kind of give it more of a plush look. So, oh, and don't forget the Ogo blanket yarn. We won't be using a lot of yarn, so this is a good scrap maker too. At the end of the video, I will show you the written instructions. So if you want to pop to the end, you can screenshot it there. So I am ready to start. Let's begin. Now before I begin any project, I always like to pull out an ample amount of yarn that you're going to be needing to create those beginning stitches. The beginning stitches really need to have proper tension, just like the rest as you go along. I like to pull from the center, and the nice thing about this Ogo yarn is that when you pull it, there's really no yarn barf. That's a plus for me. So after we've pulled out an ample amount, let's place a slip knot on our hook so we can cross it over like this and have like a little X. Place your hook into the loop, draw your working yarn through, pull the tail, and it'll tighten it right up. Then we are going to chain 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Okay? Have your stitch marker ready. I'm going to pull my camera up closer, and then we will start beginning with our single crochets. Alright, so if you'll notice that when we do a chain, you have your front part of your chain, and on the back you have what they call the bumps. Okay, so we're going to skip the first bump, okay, which is this one here, and so in the second one we'll place one single crochet. The reason why I use the bumps when doing amigurumi is because it helps it to be tighter, so there's no gap when just using one part of the chain. Now every preference is different, but this is mine. So we've put the hook through the loop, we drew through the back of the stitch there, we pulled up a loop, so we have 2 loops on our hook, yarn over and pull through those 2. let's go ahead and place our stitch marker in for our first stitch. Okay, and in that same stitch we're going to do a second single crochet. 2 single crochets in one stitch is known as an increase. Now we're going to do 5 single crochets over the next 5 back of these chain humps. So let's do that. Now, like I said, it does take a little bit of practice to get into those back humps, but you can do it. So here's 1, 2. You'll also notice that as I draw my loop through, I also pinch the bottom so I can pull the loop a little bit higher so that my tension and my stitch will be up straight too. Okay, there's 3. 4, and here's number 5. Now in the last one, we're going to be placing 4 single crochets on this back hump. But I'm going to show you how we're not going to have a big opening when we do that back hump. So let's place 2. Here you got your tail here to your left side. So here's 1 and 2. Okay, now pull your tail over and you'll see the front side of the same last stitch. Okay, the one we're doing the hump on, we're going to be using the front part of this stitch. So here we're going to place 2, and this will also help hide our knot, our slip knot. Okay, so here we got 2. And see how nice and closed that is. Okay, so down this edge, 5 single crochet. Okay, and in this last one here, we're going to place 2 single crochet, which is our increase. So here's 1 and 2. Okay, so this completes our first row. Let's remove our stitch marker, and in that stitch let's place 2 single crochet. Don't forget to tag your first one. There's 1 and 2. And in our next stitch, let's do our increase there also. 1 and 2. 5 single crochet. So we're going to do 1 per stitch. Four and 5. Okay. As we go around this curve, we're going to do 4 increases, which means 2, 2, 2, and 2. The 2 means 2 single crochets. Okay, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4. So let's do our 4 increases. And here's our 4th one. Okay, be sure to pull and stretch your work out just a little bit. This also helps our work to remain flat. 5 single crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And just before our stitch marker, we have 2 stitches left. We're going to do 2 increases. So here's 2 single crochet, 2 single crochet for 2 increases. Okay, here we have our nice flat little piece. Okay, so what I'm going to be doing now is I'm going to be pulling more yarn from my skein. So go ahead and do that, and then we will start our next row. This row is going to consist of the feet. Now, this is all crocheted in, and I know you're thinking, how in the world did she create this where all the feet, as big as they are crocheted in? Ah, see, that's the nice thing about knowing crochet and doing other things besides amigurumi. What I did here was we have chain, we have a popcorn stitch, and then we have 2 single crochets that go over the original chains, and then we continued on. Now, if you don't know what a popcorn stitch is, I'm going to show you how. And you're going to love this. It makes nice little puffs with our little single crochets here for our arms and our feet. And you're going to find it to be really simple. So let's move on. Let's remove our stitch marker. And in this first stitch, we're going to do an increase. So let's do our first one. Replace our stitch marker. And then our second one in that same stitch. Okay. And then in our next stitch, an increase. Our third stitch here, we're going to do 1 single crochet. Okay, now this is the part where we're going to start adding our feet. So chain 5, 1, 2. Now I'm going to encourage you after that second one to place your finger and thumb over that second chain and then chain 3 more. 1, 2, 3. Now this chain right here, the third one, okay, we're going to be placing a double crochet in there. We're going to be placing 5 double crochets in there. But let me show you how to do the first one. Place your finger on the loop on your hook, yarn over your hook, take your hook and go in. It doesn't matter, just pick up 2 parts of that chain, draw the loop through that chain. Now you have 3 on your hook. So yarn over through 2, yarn over through 2. And in that same hole, we're going to place 4 more double crochets. Okay? Try to make them a little snug. You don't want too much tension in the stitch. Okay, so I have 1, 2, 3. I need 2 more. Okay, so this is what we have so far. Now make this loop a little bigger, take your hook out, and here we have our 5 double crochets. So let's go back here to where the first one is, and take your hook and go through the top stitches of the first one. Place your hook through the loop and tighten the loop down. Now take that loop and pull it through the chain, snug it up, and then we're going to use the 2 chains right here as the base for making 2 single crochets. So we're just going to go, we're not even going to use any part of that chain, we're just using it as a base. So go under the chain, draw up a loop, yarn over through 2, let's snug it up, and let's do it one more time. Okay, now we're not going to admire our work just yet. Let's move into the next stitch. So right here is where that last single crochet was. So we want to go to the next stitch and place a single crochet. Okay, now drop your loop and look at what you've done. If you lay it flat like this, because this will be the inside of the body, right here is where we have our nice little cluster and our little leg. So what do you think? It hit me one night. Okay, so we have 1. We need a total of 7. So here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Okay, so let's move on to our next foot. We're going to do the exact same thing all over again. So let's chain 2 and pinch that chain, that second chain, and then chain 3. 1, 2, 3, and into that third one, 5 double crochets. Okay, here's 3, here's 4, here's my 5th double crochet. Okay, and to complete our popcorn, this is what we're doing, is a popcorn stitch. We're going to go through the top of that first one, get our loop, snug it up, pull it through, and then 2 chains on top of those chains. Okay, so there's 1 and 2. And remember to find where that last stitch is at and then go into the next one for your single crochet. Okay, that's number 1. So we're going to do a total of 16 single crochets till we get to our stitch marker. Go ahead and do that. I'll meet you there. Please pause your video. So after the oohs and ahs and oh, why didn't I think of that moment? What do you think? I think it looks nice. So I didn't have to make a separate feet. It's all just part of it. Let's move on to our next row. Let's remove our stitch marker. And in our first stitch, 1 single crochet. Continue with 4 more single crochets. This is for a total of 5. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, you notice how we stopped right here at the foot. Now I want you to bend the foot over. Okay, and then you see the gap here. We're going to skip over that. And we're going to go right here to the next single crochet. Okay, because here's our first single crochet. We did the chain and everything. Here's our second single crochet. This right here isn't anything here. Okay, so bend it forward. Now what I like to do is I like to take and aim the hook down and go through that stitch. Pull up a loop, snug it up, because that's going to close the hole right here and complete that single crochet. Okay, so that's one. Okay, we're going to do a total of 7 across the front here. So here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Okay, let's slide that foot to the front. Find your next single crochet. Aim that hook down and go through the top of that stitch. Pull up a loop. Here's 1. Let's do 15 more, and I'll meet you at the end of the row. Please pause your video. You'll notice that our little body is starting to curl up a little bit. This is what we want it to do. Now for the next 4 rows, we're going to do 28 single crochets around. So we're just going to do straight single crochet, but always remember to mark the first stitch of every row, so that way you know that that's the beginning. Okay, so there's 1. Continue with single crochet for 4 rows. Please pause your video. So our little monster is taking some shape here. We're about halfway through. You ready to start adding some arms? All right, let's move our stitch marker. And in the first stitch, 1 single crochet. Okay, and then 2 more, 1 in each stitch. So we've actually placed 3 single crochets here at the beginning of this row. Now we're going to make our arm. It's the same way that the legs were done. And I know you remember that, right? I hope you didn't have any struggles with it. Well, let's do it again. So here we chain 2, pinch that top that second chain, and let's chain 3. Okay, double crochet into that third chain, and then add 4 more double crochets to that same chain space. So here's 1, 2, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Enlarge the loop, spread our work, go to that first chain, pick up our loop, tighten it up, pull it through. Okay, fold this down, and 2 single crochets. There's 1, oops, and there's number 2. Okay, here's the last single crochet that we did in the row. So here's our next one. So here's 1, and we need 12. So here's 1, 2, 3. Instead of you watching me count to 12, continue on till you have 12 single crochets, and I'll meet you there. Please pause your video. And I know some of you jumped ahead, didn't you? Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is our last popcorn. So let's chain 5 and 3 or 5 double crochets in that chain 3 space. Okay, here's 5. Fan it out. Okay, 2 single crochets. Find our next stitch. Okay, here's the first one of 13. So continue across with 13 single crochet, and then we will be ready to move on to our next row. Please pause your video. This next row, besides going over our arms, we're also going to be doing decreases. The decreases that I do are invisible decreases. So we're going to start off this row with an invisible decrease. To make an invisible decrease, you'll notice that we have 2 sides of our chain, or our stitch top here. We're just going to pick up that front loop of the first one. We're going to curl it over and go and pick up the first loop of the second stitch. And what that does is it helps pull it together to make it look like a single crochet, but actually joining 2 stitches into one. So we pulled up our loop. We're going to finish it off like a single crochet. Since we decreased it by 1 stitch, this is actually our first stitch of this row. So we place our stitch marker in. Our next stitch is just before our arm. We want 1 single crochet. We're going to skip over our arm to the next single crochet and place 1 single crochet in that next stitch. Our next stitch here will be a decrease. So we want to pick up the front loops of the next 2 stitches. And sometimes they can be a little hard. Come on now, there you go. And pull it through those 2 loops and complete the single crochet, or the double, or the decrease. I'm so full of words tonight, huh? Okay, so we're going to do 2 single crochets over the next 2 stitches and a decrease. We're going to repeat that again, 2 single crochets over the next 2 stitches and then decrease. We have 1 stitch left before our arm, so 1 single crochet. Okay? we're going to pull our arm forward, identify where our next single crochet is, okay, which is right here. I'm going to place one single crochet there. Do one more single crochet, so we have 2. Now we're going to decrease. We're going to repeat this sequence 2 more times. So 2 single crochet over the next 2 stitches. My yarn ball fell to the floor. And then decrease. So here's our first one. Let's do it again. 1, 2, and decrease. And then we have 1 stitch left. And this will complete this row. Okay, my yarn ball fell into the floor. So this is what we have so far. Go ahead and pull out some more yarn, and we will move on to the next row. We have about 3 or 4 more rows to do. Now that I pulled some more yarn out, all right, the next 2 rows are going to be 21 stitches per row. No decreases, no increases, just 21 single crochets. So, the next 2 rows, 21 single crochets. Please pause your video. Alright, so before we move on, let's place a little bit of stuffing in the bottom portion. Now, we don't have to place a lot of stuffing in here. You can have it whatever firmness that you would like. I don't want it too tight, but I do want the corners out here to be filled. And what I do a lot of times, I'll put some stuffing in, and then I'll create like a circle in the center, and that'll help pull the stuffing out to the side walls. And then all you have to do is add some to the center, and it gives it a nice little shape. So here I'm going to put some in the center. Okay, and that'll be it for right now, because we still have some more crocheting to do. Now this row, we're going to be doing a repeat 5 times, and then the very last stitch will just be 1 single crochet. So let's place in, this is our repeat, 1 single crochet, or let's do it this way, 2 single crochets over the next 2 stitches. So here's 1, 2, and decrease. Okay, so that's 1 repeat. We're going to do that again. Single crochet, decrease. Okay, so keep doing that all the way around, and then at the very last stitch is just 1 single crochet. This next row will just be single crochets, so you will do 16 single crochets all the way around. Just 16. Let's enlarge that last loop, remove our hook. We're going to be placing our eyes in. Okay, and we want to go to the middle of the 21 row. So here's our eyes. We're going to come down 1, 2, 3. Okay, so place them where you would like to have them. I know I'm going to have to fiddle with it here to see exactly where I would like it. And then follow that line across. And since these are kawaii eyes, you know, I can make them look however I want them to look. I think I'm on the wrong row there, aren't I? Yeah, I can make it so that they go googly or go down, however you want them. Okay? But now to put these eyes on, is that where I want them at? Yeah. These cups will go right here in the back. And it's going to be a little tight. Let's turn it the way we want it. Oh, I have to use the safety eye thing. I got mine from Shelby from Snowy Aspen. Okay, I got to stand up for this. I'm going to place the little cup port in the hole. There we go. And then listen to it pop. Did you hear it? It popped twice. Okay, and do the same thing for the other side. Make sure you get them where you want them, because after they go on, they are not coming off. Okay. Oops, sorry for shaking the camera. Let's turn that a little. Okay, and then 2 pops. There we go. They ain't totally straight, but it is a monster. And if you look on the inside, they pop through nicely. It's taking shape, isn't it? I know some little kid's gonna love this. Alrighty, we have one more row to crochet, but we're not going to be finished with our crochet. So our first stitch will be a decrease. Our repeat this row will be decrease, single crochet, decrease, single crochet. Now, you do have one row that you can work over your eyes to make it easier to crochet. If we were to go up any higher, it would be kind of hard to put all of this stuff on. So we decreased 1 single crochet. So let's decrease again. And 1 single crochet. So continue that around. When you're done at the end of this row, you will have 11 stitches. I guess I forgot to tell you, at the very last stitch is just 1 single crochet. Alrighty, so let's pull out some yarn, because we're going to be crocheting our little topper here, but we're also going to be drawing it closed. So we want to make sure that we have plenty of yarn. So let's pull it through. We're going to need our tapestry needle. But before we do that, we're going to add some more stuffing. Okay, see how it kind of pulled it in from the eyes? Well, the stuffing will help pull it out. So go ahead and add more stuffing in here till it's of your liking. And then I'll show you how to draw it close. See, the back part right here is still kind of flat. See how this has a little curve to it? And that's what I'm doing, is I'm just adding little amounts to help it do what I would like for it to do. Okay. Has a little depth to it. See if we can add some more over here. Because I know those eyes are pretty big, but that's what gives it his character. All right, let's get out our needle here. Okay, so to thread a needle, what I usually do is I place it between and just fold the yarn over the needle and then work the folded edge through that needle. A lot of times if you pick it up on the end cut, sometimes it just doesn't seem to work right. All right, so we finished here. We're going to go through the front loops of these stitches around. Pull it through. We're just doing like a running stitch. Now don't pull it tight yet once we get it all the stitches around. And the reason why is because we want to add some more stuffing to the top so it's not flat. Okay, because you see how you can still put more up in here? So let's go ahead and do that. You don't want a lot. I did that on one of my other ones and it just didn't look too good. So yeah, that does it. See how it's up to the top? Now go ahead and pull. Make sure all your stuffing is in there. And then I'm going to go around a couple of times. I might have pulled out too much yarn to sew this on with, but that's okay. All right, so I want to have a loop come up over here on the back side. Okay, take my needle out. So I'm going to take my hook. I'm going to come back a stitch, okay, and go under some stitches and pull it through. And now I can start my chain. We're going to chain 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And with that, we're going to kind of move over. We're going to just make 3 loops around. So I'm just going to go over here. See how I just picked up underneath a stitch? Go through the stitch and through the loop on the hook and snug it up, and then chain 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's come over here. Oops, pull up another loop. And through the stitch and through the loop on the hook, snug it up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then we're going to come over here, make it look like it's continued on. Oh, the fun of this is the hard part about filming. The camera is probably about 6 inches away from my work. Okay, so we have 3 loops here. So we're going to pull it all through. Okay. And here's what our little top looks like. Now what I'm going to do is, since there's a little gap here, I'm going to take my needle and I'm going to go ahead and just put, you know, a little stitch on it. where it'll just kind of go in between. And that makes it look like it's all one. And here's what our little loop looks like on the top. But now I'm going to go down into the stitches. I'm going to come down here. So to finish it off, what I choose to do is I go in the middle of a bunch of stitches here and pull it through. Okay, and then go in and come out somewhere down here, and then we're going to go ahead and cut it. I find that when you pull these stitches in between, or pull the yarn in between stitches, it helps secure it a little bit better. So what do you think? I know yours looks just like mine, huh? Well, we have one sewing thing that we have to do now, and that's put his mouth and his tooth on. So get out some black yarn, a little bit, and some white yarn, and then we'll be finished. Now your mouth is what gives character to our little animal. So you can have one that's a nice big smile like this, or one that's a slight smile. You could do straight, you could do a frown, you could do anything you would like. But I'm going to show you how I'm going to go ahead and put this smile on here. I'm going to come over here, start down here at the bottom, because this is where we're going to hide our stitch. And where we're going to start our stitch, we pull it out where we would like for it to be. And then we kind of get an idea of what we'd like our stitch to look like. If you want a big smiley face, if you want just a straight line, you know, it's whatever you choose to do. In fact, that straight line looks kind of cute. I might do that. So I'm just going to go down, but I'm going to come back a couple of stitches, because when you have long yarns like this, you don't want it to get caught up on little fingers and stuff. So we're going to come out, we're going to go over the top of it and back into the same hole, go across a couple more stitches. Now this also includes whatever curve you choose to take. And you see how that'll tack that stitch down? So we're going to go over the black and into that same hole. And now since I'm done, I'm going to come out the hole that I went in and make sure that everything looks the way I want it to look. Okay, let's see. There we go. Now, let's take and place a square knot into our little end knots here. This one I'm going to cut down just a little. Then we're going to use our hook and come in through the same hole that that knot's at. Place your ends over the hook, twist it, and just pull it all in. Now sometimes you have to go back. It happens. There we go. And just bury it in that batting. Okay, let's put our little tooth on it, and then we'll be done. Now since this is a little smile, who knows, we might stick one right here in the middle. Okay, so we're doing the same thing with the white. And what I do is I go over at an angle to kind of make it like a triangle shape. Okay, so see how it comes over? And then I'll come back. And usually the yarn is fluffy enough that it fills the center of that triangle. There we go. And see how it fills it up? And then we tie our square knot. and hide our stitches, or hide our tails, I should say. Notice how that went in real easily? I fooled it. I told it it wasn't in front of the camera. Sometimes that's what you have to do. And we are finished. I like this pattern. I hope you like it too. It was just something I came up with because I was looking for some way to create arms that would be a little bit bigger with knobs on the end. And when I thought of, why not a popcorn stitch? Popcorn stitches have that bulk, you know. I've been crocheting for decades. And it was my grandmother in my church that encouraged me to learn how to do all this. My aunt, my cousins, and everybody. So, I hope you like seeing my little friends here. Let's change the camera up. Okay, so now get your cameras ready, because here's what I promised you. Here is your screenshot, and here's page 2. Now if you don't understand, right here's an asterisk, come across, and here's where this row is. I made a mistake down here and it just didn't work out. So here's the whole thing. So, I hope you had fun making this. If you would like some of the eyes, let me know. Or you can look on my channel and it shows you how to make these eyes. The eyes were purchased through AliExpress. It takes about a month to get them. Or you can go to Amazon or Etsy. There's lots of people who sell these kawaii eyes. They're kawaii safety eyes. These are 30mm. You can use 25mm or any size that you like. You can even use felt eyes. So, have fun. Be creative with what your little facial look is. Try some different colors. So, till next time. Bye-bye.